I've seen hundreds of people start vending machine businesses, and I can predict with 99% accuracy who's going to succeed and who's going to fail within the first 30 days. It all comes down to whether they make these critical 10 mistakes. Today, I'm breaking down the biggest pitfalls vending operators make before they even get started. I made most of these mistakes myself when I started, and they cost me thousands of dollars and months of wasted time. If you're even thinking about getting into vending, this video could save you from disaster. Mistake number one, not maximizing your bottom line. The big thing is the margin trap that most beginners fall into. All they care about is trying to get their first location or focus on that top line revenue when they're not actually focused on their margins, where their take home is the most important piece. A perfect example of this is a 16-ounce water versus a 16-ounce Monster. Both of them have 65% margins. That's insane. But guess what? The Monster you can sell for $4. The water you can sell for $2. Hello? How are you gonna make more by selling more water? Think about it. A case of Monster will bring in $112 while a case of water will bring in $51. This is a great example of why when you focus on the percentage of your margins versus actually the amount of profit and total dollars will kill your growth. The biggest thing you need to identify is high product margins. Things like drinks have the best margins and the best shelf life, and as a result, you're gonna be able to maximize your profits that much more. Simple tricks like that. Plus, you're also going to have the compounding effect of optimizing every square inch of your machine. So rather than having 3 rows of drinks and 3 rows of chips, if chips only have a 90-day shelf life, add a 4th row of drinks because you know they have better margins and a better shelf life. Mistake number 2 is actually paying full price for your machines. There's no reason to pay full price in 2025 because of the depreciation you get even if you finance your machines. There's even financing platforms out there. You look at the first machine I ever bought from evending.com, I financed it with no money down, and I didn't have to make my first payment for 3 months after doing sales. There's also other platforms out there that would love to finance machines for you because the cash flow is so good. One off the top of my head is VendHub or vendingconnect.com. The other thing that gives you an advantage is leveraging the cash flow of financing those machines versus buying outright. That's one mistake I made when I paid my first machine with full cash, and I realized real quick, then I was strapped for cash to scale into more locations and scale into more products because I had already spent all of my cash on a new machine up front. You need to preserve your capital because you are going to scale so quickly that you are going to need to focus on growth and use that cash flow over time to pay off those financing loans in an accelerated way. One of the tips that we love to try to do is we love to finance our machines over a 60-month term and pay them off within 18 months. Mistake number 3, buying used machines. The whole myth on saving money on used equipment is one that hits home for me. I bought my first machine off Craigslist for $3,000 and thought I was saving $2,000 because it was used. Well, guess what? Within 6 months of that used machine being installed with me, it broke and I had to buy a new machine anyway. The other piece of used machines is they literally will oftentimes be sold as cash only, which will kill your revenue potential. Even if they do have a credit card reader on there, the inventory tracking is so ancient that you can't even leverage that to save your picker time when you're trying to map out your stocking schedule for your operators. The other hidden misnomer that people don't understand with buying new machines at full price is that it also comes with a warranty, which is a great thing. When I bought that used machine off Craigslist and it broke down 6 months after paying for it, I had no one to call. I had no manual of the machine to know which part needed to replace because none of that was under warranty. I bought it on a third-party platform like Craigslist. Mistake number 4 is actually choosing the wrong machine for the wrong location. A great example of this is if you get asked to bring a micro market into an office building. But then when you go meet the office building, you learn a couple things. You learn that they work from home on Fridays. You learn that they only work from 9 to 5. So literally the only time your machine is gonna do sales is 9 to 5 Monday through Thursday because they also don't work on the weekends. Well, guess what? Why would you go buy a really robust set of equipment for that location when you can start with one machine, treat it like a combo machine, and ultimately save costs on equipment, but also hedge your bets on risk of the location? Because a lot of times what I'll see with these office buildings and these vending operators is they'll add a drink machine and a snack machine. Well, in these locations that you're not sure about the revenue potential, just do one hybrid machine called a combo machine and do half drinks and half snacks. And if it crushes it with sales, you can always add a second machine next to it. But too many people go all in with trying to have this freaking fancy, extravagant $30,000 investment in equipment, and you can get by in such a much more efficient way. So always pick the machinery based on the type of location and the foot traffic that's going to justify it. The fifth mistake that's also very common, and I think it's a little bit of just laziness, is people love to stock the same products in all locations. And this should not be the case. If you have an urgent care, they're not going to want a bunch of the sugary sodas in their machine. If you have an apartment complex, they're going to love all of the late night munchies for when those students come home from the bar. And so if you have a one size fits all across all the locations, it's just a recipe for disaster because you're truly not catering to what the building wants. And that's why I think it's a happy medium of being able to meet what the demand is saying you should put in that machine, but also understanding the location. And this is why I love with our urgent care is the fact that we've added a lot of over-the-counter meds and things has been such a great success for us because we're catering to the type of people that go to the urgent care and the things they need that might not necessarily be the same as a manufacturing plant where we have an entirely different demographic. The sixth mistake I often see is people paying unnecessary revenue shares. It pains me when I see these marketing flyers that markets revenue share and then they blast out the flyer to all these properties. A lot of people just want the amenity at no expense to them. Think about it. If you're going into an urgent care, they just want to give their patients that are sitting there for 90 minutes to up to 2 hours to see a doctor an amenity where they can go get a drink or a snack while they wait for the doctor. They're not looking at this from a revenue share perspective. And that's really important because too many people love to lead with revenue share when 9 times out of 10, it won't even be brought up. In fact, these locations want you to stay in business. So if you just keep giving them a revenue share and eating away at your margins and go out of business, that puts them in an awkward spot because now they have to go find a new vendor for their smart machine or micro market. And that's why it's really important not to give out revenue shares if you don't have to. Mistake number 7 is one that hits home. You never want to leave a machine at a location after 6 to 9 months if it's underperforming. It's very important, I'm not going to lie, that you should be patient as it ramps up because people need to learn that the machine is there. But there are too many times when you get to month 9 or month even 12 that if your machine still isn't performing, you need to pull that machine. There are sunken costs with that machine. And so you need to not be afraid to go into that property, have a difficult conversation and just say, hey, it's not working out. And 9 times out of 10, the first thing they're gonna offer is try to help you market it more. So you might actually save the location because now these residents or employees that didn't even know the machine was down in the downstairs basement are getting marketing flyers about it. But 2, they might actually offer a minimum. And so they'll pay you $500 or $1,000 a month just to keep the machine there for those few people that are actually using it. So that's like the best of both worlds for you. If you get a monthly minimum, you're getting paid without losing any inventory or product, which is just straight margin. Mistake number 8, and probably the one I'm most passionate about, is ignoring technology. Traditional vending in 2025 is almost dead. I would bet that in the next 2 years, it's completely dead. There's gonna be no more machines that require cash, that use a code, that have a motor spit out your Snickers. In 2025, you either need to get on board with new technology like micro markets and smart coolers, or you're gonna be left behind by your competition. And that is a fact. And so the big thing with this is the more you can immerse yourself in the technology and immerse yourself with the industry innovation that's going on right now, the more you'll be able to stay ahead of the curve and absolutely crush it with your business. Mistake number 9 is one that hits home because I love to make things passive. I want to focus on the business, not in the business. And what I see all the time is people start building a vending business, but they don't hire any stockers, they have no general manager, and they have no operators. This pains me to see because they cannot remove themselves from the business. They do not know how to let go. They need to learn how to buy back their time. They should be focused on scaling their business, not stocking a machine. They can find a $20 employee to go stock a machine. And this is why you need to remove yourself from focusing on what's going on in the business, create the systems, hire the talent, so you can actually focus on the business and scale this beast from the 2 to 3K you might be doing and get to the meaningful numbers of 50 to 100K you should be doing. The last mistake that ultimately comes down to just paralysis by analysis is focusing on marketing way too much and not focusing on doing pop-ins. People will be too focused on what their logo should look like, what their website should look like, what their email address should be. Well, hello. Just go start knocking on doors. Because if you go start creating momentum with action through things like pop-ins, you're gonna freaking get as much market share that you can get while leaving your competition behind. And I see this all the time. The same people that are successful in our programs, they have one trait in common. That trait literally is they take action. They are all action takers at an urgency level that leaves their competition behind. They're not smarter than you. They don't know or went to college for vending. They literally just know how to take action and not overcomplicate things with some fancy marketing website or some cool logo. They're literally going to take action. I learned most of these lessons the hard way. Losing thousands of dollars, my used machine that broke down on Craigslist, and countless hours in the process. But this is exactly why I created our coaching program. So you don't have to make these same expensive mistakes that I did. This program is called Vendingpreneurs, where we literally hold your hand on how to lock down locations and get your business up and running. We even have a dedicated team that goes around and negotiates partnerships with machine manufacturers and product rebate companies to get you the best margins possible. If you'd like to learn more, you can click the link in the description to book a call with our team. Thanks for watching. This is Mr. Passive signing off.